Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here. In today's video, I want to talk about Deebo Samuel and his press conference and how he says the Washington Commanders are going to get a motivated Deebo and what that could look like in the 2025 NFL season. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell as well so you never miss a video. So let's get right into it. So Deebo Samuel had his press conference yesterday. Nothing crazy out of it, but he did talk about the weight comments a little bit, and then about being traded and requesting a trade, all of that. But let's get into it. So Kime says this was just a sum up of some of the stuff. So why he wanted to go to the Commanders, he said, I like winners. And that is crazy for a player to not crazy in terms of him saying it, but in terms of, we're at the point where a player is saying that and saying that he wants to join the Commanders because he likes winners. And yeah, obviously they haven't won anything yet in terms of a Super Bowl, but, they've had a lot, this past year they had a lot, sorry, a little sick still. They had a lot of success in their first year of the new regime with Jaden, with Adam Peters, with Dan Quinn. They went to the NFC Championship, and that's just the first year. We'll see where it goes from there. I believe he said he had 5 teams that he would have gone traded to, and the Commanders were one of them, so that's good for sure. And like I said, he said they're getting a motivated Deebo. He's going to bring his dog mentality to the Washington Commanders. He said they've already proven they can win. I'm just coming in to add my dog mentality. And that's what the Commanders need. They have Terry, who brings that dog mentality, who is a stud, but they still need, some other dogs in the offense. And I think Deebo, when healthy, definitely can add something that the Washington Commanders don't necessarily have. So definitely excited to see what he can do, what he looks like in the offseason, weight-wise. People were making a big deal out of it last year, and I think, that's warranted. He wasn't in shape, and, in terms of his usual shape. Obviously, he's still playing football. He's in shape. But in terms of, the shape that he wants to be, the shape that he needs to be his best self on the football field, he wasn't there. And he talked about that a little bit in this press conference. It was asked a little bit. But I think, that he's going to be motivated, so he will be working out a lot more than usual. I think he said he has a lot of people holding him accountable, like even his brother the other day I think Deebo said he was doing something, maybe playing video games. I might be wrong on that one, but he got called by his brother and just asking if he worked out yet today. And that's just, it's good to have people like that in your life that are holding you accountable, making sure you're getting your stuff done. So I think that will be the case with Deebo Samuel this offseason. He's going to be motivated. He has people around him that are going to, make sure he's locked in, and, I believe he'll get to, the weight that he needs to be under 220, which, I believe he was 225 with the 49ers last year. So if he can get to like 215, that would be great. He probably already has lost a little bit of weight, and then just, this next month or two, maybe lose a little bit more. And then, in the time in between training camp is when, in between OTAs and training camp is when he needs to get in his best shape. But that's something to worry about later on. Right now, just want to talk about these things he said. The Commanders did add more money to his deal. I talked about that in a video on Wednesday. And yeah, they added money to his deal. Some, they made it fully guaranteed, and then they added some incentives. So he said, I can't come in here and let them down. So I'm glad he knows that, because yeah, I think that's what fans think. They just gave him a lot of money, and they don't want him to just show up there and do nothing. It's a 1-year deal. They gave him, they gave up a 5th-round pick for him, so it's not like they gave up a crazy amount, but still, you would like him to have a good year. If he has a great year, maybe he gets re-signed here. If he has a great year, maybe he doesn't get re-signed here, but he signs a big deal elsewhere, like a Cooper Kupp type of deal, and the Commanders get a comp pick for him, a good comp pick for him. I know that's like a stretch in terms of, getting a Cooper Kupp type deal, but hey, if he has a good year, he's a lot younger than Cooper Kupp, and also, Cooper Kupp has been dealing with way more injuries, so that's not that far-fetched for him to get like $15 million a year, if he, gets a new contract, if he has a really good year. So just watch out for that as well. If that happens, the Commanders will get like a third, fourth round comp pick, and that's more than they gave up for him to get him, and they would get a year of service under, Deebo, and maybe, he helps them, make a deep playoff run, maybe a Super Bowl run. So just all these things to consider. He was, asked, I don't know if it was Ben Standig who asked him, but he's the one who tweeted it, on reports about injury and weight concerns that don't move me. So he doesn't care about what people are thinking. He knows where he's at, and he thinks, he's in a good spot. That's what I'm getting from those comments. Yeah. So it really, and that at the end of the day, who cares what people think, as long as, right now he's putting in that work, putting in that effort, and getting to that weight that he wants to get, that the team wants him to get. I'm sure they've talked about that. I doubt there's any weight clauses in the contract in terms of incentives, but who knows, maybe there is, but I doubt it, because it's not that big of a concern where it's like, all right, we really, really need him to cut down a bunch of weight. It's not a, Eddie Lacy situation or others. He's a few pounds over what he needs to be, but not anything crazy, not anything that he can't, put in that work and lose that weight. So, not a big deal at all, at least right now. We'll see if he shows up to training camp overweight or OTAs, and that's a little bit of an issue. But right now, I don't think it is an issue at all. And I think getting a motivated Deebo Samuel is going, he's the type of guy you can just tell, he has a chip on his shoulder and he wants to prove the people that are doubting him wrong. So I could see him having a huge year. Maybe not a 2021 type season, but like a 800 to 1,000 yard receiving season with 6-7 touchdowns, a bunch of first downs. I could see his yards, him getting a bunch of catches. The yards per catch not necessarily super high, but he just gets you a lot of first downs. And then maybe 150 rushing yards as well. I would say give him those carries, maybe fewer than he had in San Francisco, but give him those carries, and don't give them to Terry, to, Luke McCaffrey. I mean, maybe what you can give them to Luke, but we don't need Terry getting those, hits. Rather just get him the ball, in the screen game or other stuff as well. Deebo's also a very good blocker, so I think not only will he improve the screen game by, him just catching screens and, running down the field, but also blocking. Our blockers this past season, a lot of the screens just didn't work because the blockers weren't able to make that initial block. Diami, he wasn't an awful blocker, but I think, Deebo is one of the best blockers in the league. So that will definitely help out the Commanders in the screen game, and is something that, Deebo brings to the table besides the yards after the catch, besides, the running ability that he has. All that, is great, but the blocking is good as well. So we'll see what happens with Deebo. It'll be a storyline this offseason. He's a big name player too, so he's going to get a lot of media attention, and rightfully so. He's getting paid $17 million, up to $20 million with incentives. Would like to see what those incentives are. I don't know if they'll put them out there, but like to see them. Probably something like a Pro Bowl, 1,000-yard type season, and he'll get that money maybe if the Commanders make a really deep playoff run as well. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new. If you guys stayed till the end, go ahead and comment down below. We'll go Brian Quick if you stayed till the end. Just trying to think of some OG players. I was seeing a video on Twitter the other day or yesterday, and Brian Quick was one of the guesses that people had to make. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.